the Jehovah's Witnesses have translated the Bible, come out with their own translation. And we're talking about this New World Translation. And we were just in the last segment talking a little bit about John 1:1. And let me just finish up that one there. When Julius R. Manti was quoted in the Watchtower, he did get mad. And I got a copy of his letter, and this is what he said about their translation, that in the beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was a God. Nobody translates it that way, and he said, this is a grossly misleading translation. It is neither scholarly nor reasonable to translate John 1:1, the Word was a God. And then he went on to say, of all the scholars in the world, so far as we know, none have translated this verse as Jehovah's Witnesses have done. Now, Joan, let's talk a little bit about who was on this translation committee, because when you get the NIV Bible, the American Standard Bible, the King James, you can go back and you can find out who was on the translation committee. NIV had like 110 different scholars that they listed that were part of the committee. Who were the people that were on the New World Translation Committee? Because at first, when you got this, they didn't say. It was a mystery deal.
Well, they didn't want to get any credit for it, they said. And we say, we won't give you any credit.
At the same time, the Watchtower was saying that this information, this Bible, was the very words of God coming down. This was the most accurate. And everybody in the Jehovah's Witnesses was supposed to follow it. Yeah. Now, who, again, were on the committee?
Well, the only ones who knew any Greek at all were a Greek man himself, and he was not familiar with the Koine Greek, which the Bible was originally written in. And the other man was who became one of the last presidents, Fred Franz, and he only took one semester of Greek at Cincinnati University. So neither one of them were a scholar in the Greek language or the Hebrew. And Franz, under oath at the Scottish trial in 1954,
he was brought into court. He was asked questions about this translation.
Yeah, he was asked about, the attorney says, have you also made yourself familiar with Hebrew? And Franz says, yes, so that you have a substantial linguistic apparatus at your command. Franz said, yes, for use in my biblical work. I think you're able to read and follow the Bible in Hebrew, Greek, Latin, Spanish, Portuguese, German. And Franz says, yes. You yourself read and speak Hebrew? Do you? Franz says, I do not speak Hebrew. Now, I don't understand how he could read it and not be able to speak it. I mean, that may be possible, but a scholar would be able to. I knew Dr. Manti. He came to our first convention. He stood up there and he read out of the Greek text, not even a translation of it.
But that's not all that happened at that trial. What was the rest?
So then he said, would you read the 4th verse of the 2nd chapter of Genesis? Franz says, you mean here? Yes. Franz says, no, I wouldn't attempt to do that. And I understand that any first-year Hebrew student could read that.
Yeah, you'd be flunked if you couldn't read it
to them.
Yeah. Now, he was one of them, and the fact is, so this gives you kind of an idea of the kind of people that were translating.
The others had no linguistic.
Yeah, and the others had none at all. And your husband knew the names of all of them and knew this.
Right.